There is an open letter written to Blizzard. Okay, so I got linked this. It is a very long, thoughtful post. Okay, now I am going to go and look at this just a little bit. I'm not going to read out the whole thing in detail, but if you want to, we'll put a link to it. We can have a discussion. I mean, these are probably topics that I've talked about before and in the past, but it is an open letter cordially from Shy Xanter, a passionate casual. Okay? So, everything wrong with WoW PvP. Dear Blizzard, after months upon months of the PvP situation getting increasingly more questionable, I've decided to put down a list of the most common themes regularly discussed by the community. These are concerns frequently voiced on forums, Discord channels, Reddit, or even in-game, and thus should represent the most common topics discussed on a daily basis. It should serve as a good guiding point that masses most of the concern in a legible, comprehensive way under one headline. I would love it if it reached somebody at the headquarters in the PvP department. Sadly, however, I do not expect it to, but I will attempt to anyways. To give the letter some credibility, I started playing WoW in BFA Season 2. Oh, he's a BFA Andy, huh? I have 10,000 hours played. I've reached 2,600 CR in 2v2, 2,300 in 3v3, and 2,600 in rated solo shuffle. I've reached Elite 6 times, and I've hit Legend as well. Currently, I'm on my way to hopefully reach my 7th Elite by the end of season in 2v2. As that is my preferred game mode, I've played 20,000 2v2s and 2,000 3v3s. I've also reached Cutting Edge twice and Keystone Hero once. Lastly, this letter is not supposed to be a hate letter. It is meant to serve as a document with constructive criticism based on frequently reoccurring opinions. Okay. So without further ado, let's dive. So here are some of the main topics. We got an unfriendly UI, hard accessibility, learning the ropes, no incentive to play. Jeez. MMR, achievements are unreachable, elitism and toxicity. You are losing money, balance, button bloat, no communication, and rated solo shuffle. Unfriendly UI. Yeah, the UI I don't think is ever going to change. So I can already tell. I mean, this is something we talk about a lot. It's sad. I don't think we're ever going to move in a direction where the UI becomes less crazy. I've talked about this a lot, and to see the other, like, I think there's a lot of PvPers that could agree, like the UIs and weak auras and blah 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 are crazy. And to me, like, you can have a debate on this topic, but I think it takes away a little bit of the skill of the game. Well, certain skill sets of the game, right? Like, a lot of things are just way easier. Like being able to just track everything, it just promotes a much higher level of gameplay. But I don't think that is necessarily a good thing. It's like if everybody in Counter-Strike had wall hack. Everybody has it. It's fair, but kind of takes away a little bit from the game, in my opinion. Yeah, I think playing a game where more people make mistakes and it's not so picture perfect is just more enjoyable to watch, personally. And I think it's more enjoyable to play and also creates like this barrier to entry. But after hearing like a bunch of the really vocal people from PvE talk about this, they love it. They love the UI. They love add-ons. That's their favorite thing about WoW. So I don't know. Yeah. Hard accessibility. Tons of classes and specialization. One needs to understand to be able to effectively play with or against them. At the same time, however, the only way to learn about a spell inside the game is to specifically hover over a minuscule icon that shows you a tooltip description, which usually disappears within seconds. The alternative to that is playing said class yourself, but doing that for all classes and specs by logging on and off. Yeah, so he's saying like there could be, yeah. All this information should be accessible from the user interface within seconds of any class under any circumstances to promote a coherent learning process. That could be cool. You could have like a little like encyclopedia in game that shows all the classes and their skills and talents and stuff. I don't know. That could be all right. No incentivization to play. There's 4 rated game modes. It makes the end game, so to speak. There's a lot here. MMR, the current MMR situation is a much larger problem than it seems. Yes, everyone understands the MMR. Inflation. Yeah, we talked about this a lot. MMR not being inflated, or the bigger problem to me is MMR being so inconsistent, you know? I'm gonna put music on. MMR is like so inconsistent that sometimes you can easily earn rewards and sometimes you can't. Like you go up to elite. Let's say you start playing at the end of the season, you get up to elite pretty easily, you're chilling, playing around 2,400, 2,500, and then the new season comes out and you're hard stuck 1,800 because of the way MMR inflation works. And now, like what happened to this season, it's like if you want to be pushing those elite games, you got to be playing against Calvish, playing the best comps in the game with the best people in the game, just one-shotting your ass. You got nothing you could do. Achievements unreachable. Yeah, so kind of talking about that. Elitism and toxicity. This is not, I don't think this is a problem exclusive to WoW, to be honest. I mean, yeah. It says a lot. And like I said, you guys, I highly recommend you check this out. I don't think this is a problem that is exclusive to WoW. There's a little anecdote. I remember Jackie and I wanted to play some Dota. I hadn't played Dota in like 3 years or something like that. And Jackie hadn't played in a really long time either. Jackie's my wife. And we logged on Dota and we played like a quick match game. I think we actually may have played a competitive game. It was a competitive or quick match or something. We just logged on. We made sure we did all the tutorials and we played. And we just had someone spam pinging us the whole game saying how dog shit. We're like really low rated, right? Like we were super noob. And this guy's just spam pinging the whole game, just saying how dog shit we are and awful. And he can't believe he's in a game with us. Like, buddy, man, you seem to care a lot, and you're at the same rating as we are, so I don't really know. There's elitism and toxicity about someone writing a letter. Wait, what's the problem? I don't think there's anything wrong with this letter. You're losing money. Okay, boosting services, stream carries, individuals wanting to monetize their time spent in the game because the amount of time invested is disproportionate to the results. My experience with this is the same. I obtained my first elite after dozens of hours, played with a streamer who was willing to teach me and his viewers for free. He explained all the advanced baseline knowledge to me and taught me the ways of how to think about situations the game shows on me. While explaining everything good for the streamer, I naturally ended up subscribing to him even though I did not ask for it. And it was all because it was hard, sincere, and amazing work he had done for me and helped me have incredible amounts of fun within a video game I barely experienced before. Balance. Believe it or not, like balance looks fucking crazy, but I swear it's not that. I mean, 2v2 balance is pretty bad. So he's looking at the top 5,000 and top 500. The big problem is it's like they have so many different game modes they have to balance for, right? That's the biggest issue. It's like it's not. Those are nice looking graphs. Yeah, shout out to Dressfar. These are obstacles that I've thought about so much. I mean, obviously, sometimes the balance is completely out of whack, but it's not actually that bad. In 2v2, it's like really gross, obviously. Resto Druid has a really, really insane. Like, Resto Druid in 2s is just OP. Resto Druids in general are just OP. Like, for example, let's take a look. Like, Outlaw Rogue. Like, this is a perfect example. If you look at this graph right here, this top graph, you can see Outlaw Rogue. It's down there with like the Fire Mages, Enhancement Shamans. It's like Outlaw is actually crazy. I would say Outlaw is better than all the specs on the left-hand side of things. It's just more difficult, right? But I actually think balance in this expansion has been good. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty good. It's super bad in 2s, but the question is like, what are you balancing for? Are we balancing for 2s? Are we balancing for rated solo shuffle? Are we balancing for 3v3? Are we balancing for RBGs? Because I actually think it's borderline impossible to make them all balanced. Button bloat. There's way too many buttons in the game to such an extent that is incomprehensible. People are having trouble figuring out their optimal rotations for doing PvE damage or healing. And these concepts are virtually disfigured and swirl. I don't know. A warrior has 4 gap closers and 5 micro CCs. As a response to that, a hunter has 4 gap. So the thing is, like, all of this is not because of PvP. This is all PvE stuff. And, like, I don't even think... I think that's one of the strengths of WoW, is you have classes that have really unique kits. So I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think there's certain instances where classes do have bloat. Like, part of me feels like Frostmage, for example, has too many attack buttons. But, like, if you look at Warrior, I think Warrior has a pretty clean kit. I'm not gonna lie. He used Warriors as an example of 4 gap closers, but I think Warriors kit is pretty clean overall, and I think there's a lot of classes that have a pretty clean kit. Some no, some yes. But I think that's my favorite thing about WoW, so I don't know if I totally agree with this one. No communication. Not entirely true, but yeah, communication I think could be better for sure. But I do think they've given us more updates this expansion than others. The overhauls are a weird one too, because this is my little conspiracy. I have a little conspiracy for you guys. I feel like when a class gets reworked, as we know, a lot of the times it's super OP, but I almost feel like it's intentional. I think the Ret rework was like, it was gross, right? Like I literally think the Ret rework ruined the game and made people just stop playing. It was so bad. But like, yeah, I think a lot of the time with the reworks, if the class ends up being really strong or one of the strongest, I don't think they care. That's my conspiracy. Okay, here we go. Solo Shuffle. What do we think about this? In the last segment, I'll talk about the consequences of implementing rated Solo Shuffle and the quirks of the game mode. Since that is currently the most active PvP mode, as previously stated and immediately made obvious after the first few weeks upon release, the 2v2 bracket, which is supposed to be the training grounds, has been compromised in the process. This guy said 2v2 is his favorite, so keep in mind there might be some bias here. The LFG tool has also since been left in desolate state. LFG sucks, agreed. Some people not only refuse to search for new teammates, they now refuse to even invest their time trying to instead opt to deliberately sit on a mountain waiting for a queue to pop while alt-tabbing, thus compromising the entire aspect of the community and group solidarity in the community and group content-driven game. Upon launch, the game mode has also been given significant MMR freedom, which resulted in many people finally managing to obtain their rewards, increasing their desire to participate. I like rated Solo Shuffle. We'll see where this is going, though. This is at the same time as violently taken away from them since, but not only reducing, but also bottlenecking the MMR the very next season, creating a gap that is just too much to be ignored. Since a bloated season was not followed by a bloated season, nor a normal season, but a downright deflated season. Yep, that sucked. Repelling most of the player base away entirely, committing seppuku to itself and murdering the old brackets violently. Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of sensationalism in this writing, but the result is not only a significant player decrease and overall attitude towards PvP decrease, but also people are wasting much more time, not progressing anywhere, just staying AFK in the game. I don't know if I agree with that. He says like they're not progressing anywhere, just staying AFK in the game. I think that there could be things they allow you to do in the game while in Solo Shuffle queue, but a lot of the people, the nice thing about Solo Shuffle, even with the long queues, is you kind of have your own destiny in your hands, right? Like, let's say you have an hour. Chances are, for the most part, if you have an hour to play, you can log on and at least do one Solo Shuffle if you're a DPS, right? Normally. I think under normal circumstances, that's true. You have an hour. That's not maybe true for everybody, but for the most part, you have an hour, you log on, you queue, you do a Solo Shuffle, great. There's no guarantee that if you use the current LFG system, that you'll be able to play in an hour. And maybe you'll get to play one game, you know, like, and that's awful. I think there's a lot of positives to rated Solo Shuffle that I like. So, we could talk more about them. This is in turn result waiting times that are simply not justifiable to pay money for. Since anywhere about Rival, even now in Season 3, can easily take up to 40 minutes to get one Q pop, only for it to probably result in the 3-3 scenario because the 6-round shuffle concept is so poor in design that it creates obvious favorites. I disagree with that too. I think the 6-round shuffle is a really good design. I don't agree with that. For example, at one point in Season 2, the top 100 players in rated Solo Shuffle consisted of 99 DPS, and first the only healer's position was 97. I think this only matters in a deflated season. I don't think there should be 2 different ladders, to be honest. I think it's not exactly not good to compare DPS and healers in that way, because at the end of the day, the most prestigious rewards are percentile based, right? So if you're like top 5 on a blood DK and you're only 2200, but you're still getting, you know, your Crimson Legend title, it doesn't really matter. But I do think, because I think it gets weird because a lot of the rewards are based around specific numbers. So then that's when it does get weird. You know, like if it's really impossible for a healer to get 24, even if you're the best healer in the game, you cannot get 2400. I think that's obviously a huge problem. But I don't think it's a problem that DPS are higher than healers, or vice versa. I don't think it matters outside of what I said. People ask for solo queue, which would be example 6 players, put them randomly into 2 teams for 1 game, not 6. Such a game mode would make much more sense. Player would not be forced to play clearly suboptimal comps, balanced towards 1 or 2 players' favorite, and the queues. I actually don't agree with that either. I think I would be more annoyed if, imagine you queue solo queue and every game you get Mage Ret or Mage Hunter. It could happen, right? Mage Hunter over and over and over. Meanwhile, like another mage is randomly getting Rogue Mage for their 1 game over and over and over. Chances are that's not going to happen, but I don't know. I think the 6-round shuffle is actually genius. I like it. And I think for myself, I think it's one of the things that keeps Arena interesting. I find myself, like when I'm queuing higher rated 3s and all I'm doing is fighting the same 1 or 2 teams over and over, and everybody's just playing the S tier classes, and it's only Outlaw Rogues and Arcane Mages and Destro Warlocks and DHs and DKs just over and over and over, it gets stale. I kind of like the chaos of having bad comps and random things and weird. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Those are our concerns. You can read them everywhere on forums, on Discords, and communities. Yeah, so there's like things I agree about with this letter. There's things that I don't agree with, obviously. Like, I don't think that I think that some of these opinions represent the way I feel, but some of them also don't. So, yeah. You know, what do you guys think? I don't know if those of you guys that have read it, but yeah. And apologies if, you know, I missed out on some points or whatever, but I feel like I got the overall feeling of the letter.